Please talk detailed section on USD code, NZUSD, and APUSD, basically commodity currencies. After which my colleague is going to come on board and review the analysis on indices. We touch a bit on fundamentals. See a couple of us online. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you for being here. Before we proceed fully into today's session, I'd like to implore us to try to share this link to the market follow session with friends, status, or some trading groups that allow the sharing of links so that more people get to know of these things that we do on a daily basis. To definitely help somebody who is maybe a newbie trader or a want-to-be trader or even an active trader looking for the community. All right, so without taking too much more of our time, let's get down to business. We're going to be starting with AUSD on the 4-hour time frame. And in 4-hour time frame, we marked out certain things that we have been expecting on AU for a long time. We're expecting this sell. As on Tuesday, we said we're looking at total sales of AU, NU, and USD card into certain levels before this structure that we see, before the buy continues, right? And we're looking at AUD USD, now you can see that it has been selling. It's been selling like we discussed. We did validate some levels that we spoke on, and then just broke above these levels and started to sell off. So this is the 1-hour time frame. But let me go back to the H4 and do a fresh analysis. So for the sake of those of us that don't know what it is they're looking at on the chart, this is what we call our all-weather strategy. And it is our indicator strategy that we use in analyzing in addition to technicals and the other strategies that my colleagues use, right? So everything you see here are indicators that have been superimposed together to tell a story of the chart. Okay, so H4 now, I see that a sunshine has been printed, which basically indicates that the people who were buying this move bought for so long and then they took profit. So they took profit around the zone, expecting retracement, and the retracement has now happened. We went to the 1-hour time frame and marked out certain level points where we think the retracement could sell into. The first one being here, you can see that price has now sold exactly into our first point of interest, which is somewhere around the 0.64117. The second point of interest we spoke about is here, which is 0.63089. So what am I saying is going to happen now? There's a possibility that AUD USD will start to buy from here because it has now hit the support level, right? That's hit the support level right around this zone. But if it does not and it validates this level, then we know that the next place it is headed for is all the way down here. So we're looking at 5-minute time frame now because we marked out, well, we always like to mark out 4 area points. The first one being yesterday's high and yesterday's low. So the second, the third and the fourth rather being day before yesterday's low and day before yesterday's high. So yesterday's high and day before yesterday's high happen to be in confluence. So it's just one line marked out. So what am I now saying by marking out these lines? I'm saying that since price has broken below this zone, we would see a retracement. We're expecting the retracement back into this level and then a continuation to the downside, provided that this particular level on the H1 gets violated, which we already see that price has broken below it, right? Because price has not broken below this one, but price is just going to sink in one line. I'm seeing this happening in EU. We're going to see something like this. Price is going to retrace maybe into this zone, and if it happens to break above this one, then we know that it is headed for this level, right? If this level does not hold, it's coming all the way in there. That's what we mean by points of interest. Points of interest are support or resistance zones that we mark out, expecting to see what happens there. Okay, if it is resistance and it finds resistance, give me confirmation that that resistance level is going to hold. So these are now the details of these different points of interest I've marked out. I want to see which of them holds. And when they start to hold, I will be willing to take a sell of AUD USD into the zone. Now, of course, we'll be asking ourselves, okay, but our most recent price action is giving signs to the upside. How will I be looking for a sell? Look at AUD USD on the daily time frame. We see that there is a major structure point around here that looks like this zone that is being tested now. It's looking like it's 1.8 or 50% peak level. So yes, it is in a good enough place to start to sell. Coupled with the fact that as traders, we always expect to sell high, right, and buy low. So if we want to continue buying the H4 move, We're not going to want to jump in when price has already fallen for so long. We expect that institutions push price lower so they can also buy low. So if price is going to continue being pushed down below, there's still more room for price to trade lower, which just gives me more confidence for me to take a trade of this AUD, and I'm going to be taking it into this zone or maybe halfway through, provided I see confirmations. The first confirmation for this trade, this particular sale that happened, I'm going to show you just so you can see where the perfect entry could have been, right? So you see where price came, broke below this zone and gave us a retest. This was one entry, one, two, three. It gave us numerous entries. I don't even want to count all very lot, but it gave us numerous entries to take the sell down, came back up and then give another entry somewhere around this zone, right? So it has given a lot of entries, but now I want to see, I want price to retrace back, not just for the sake of retracing, also because I would like my stop loss to be a bit tighter. When we're thinking of risk to return, I want it to be worth it. I wouldn't want to risk too much on an SL if my take profit will not make up for that, right? So come back here. When you come back here, give me confirmation. I am going to be selling into my next 1 hour point of interest. I believe this is clear. If it is not, this is the perfect time to ask while I transition into the next asset class. So the next asset class I'm looking at is NZUSD. H4 as well, pretty similar to what we're seeing on AU, right? So price has been buying for so long. Looking at most recent price action, it's been buying, but we're looking at the left-hand side, you see that price hit a resistance somewhere around this zone, and then it retraced, it came back up again, give us another sunshine. And what happens when we see sunshine? We want to see retracement, which is the retracement that is now happening. So again, Tuesday we marked out certain level points. First point of interest was here for us to take that sell reversal. It has been crushed. Look at that beautiful candle. It's been crushed, right? So next point of interest is now 0.58121. 58121. Now, as price is pumping lower with so much momentum, it is leaving an imbalance, right? They're using price action. It is leaving an imbalance. So price would eventually come and clear out this fair value gap that it left. Let me zoom in so you can see clearly. Price sold with so much force. This candle has not closed yet, but when it does eventually close and it closes to the downside, we're going to mark out this zone as a level point we're expecting price to retrace into and continue to sell. Okay, 5 minute time frame now. 5 minute time frame levels that we marked, price has broken below all of them. It's just going, if you're going to enter on the 5 minute time frame, when price came and hit resistance around the zone, this was a good entry, broke below and we tested and it dropped, right? Okay, so now that we've missed this move and we're here right now, what are we waiting for? Same thing. I want to see a retracement. I expect price to retrace into somewhere around here, but if it happens to not find resistance around that level, it is going to come back somewhere inside this trend, and then, if confirmation is printed, I'm so sorry about that. If confirmation is printed, we're going to be selling from this particular point. Okay. Final asset class we're looking at is USD card. USD card H4. Are we together so far? Are we understanding? Is this helpful to somebody? Please let me know. Before we look at the third asset class, before moving to it, is this clear to someone? Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Shay. USD card H4. What are we seeing? H4 selling, selling, selling. We're expecting price to retrace as of Tuesday, right? You can see that all our markups are still very much on the chart. So expecting price to retrace, come back to the upside, buy back up. What is price currently doing? It is buying. Price has broken above and it is going to be targeting here. And if it does not get all the way to this zone, we're looking at somewhere around here. Maybe where this resistance point is, price could buy back in and find resistance and continue to sell. So all of our analysis that we looked at on Tuesday playing out beautifully. USD card in 5 on the N5 time frame, what are we marking out yesterday's high, day before yesterday's low? Going to go ahead and mark out yesterday, day before yesterday's high and yesterday's low. So let's see if we can keep this. Okay, so all of our levels have now been marked. Level 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm expecting price to do what again? Come back to test. Come back somewhere into this zone. This trend preferably, but if it does not come all the way down to this trend, then we know that the different points of interest we just drew would hold. So for those of us who do not have the indicators on our chart, as I know that most of us would not, all you have to do is to take note of price on the right hand side. So first point of interest is 1.38446. Second one is 38391 thereabouts. The third is now 37644, and then the fourth is 37501. So look out for these level points. There are resistance, or there are points of interest we're expecting price to trace into, and then the final one, which is now our trend, 1.38052, right? And the price eventually trades back into these ones. What are we going to be doing? We'll be taking those trades temporarily, or buying back or selling back into our overall H1 POI. So we can now continue that trend provided we see confirmations. Are we together? Okay, so if we are together and this was helpful, just leave an emoji for me in the chat box while my colleague gets ready to come on board and we start doing this. All right, thank you so much. Thank you for joining. Please do not go anywhere. We'll be back in less than 1 minute to wrap up the session with more details and indices. That being said, keep an amazing trading day, and we can bring by 2 p.m. after he's done. So cheers and God bless.
Can you hear me? All right. Okay. Welcome to the second part of the market color session. Thank you so much for that confirmation. We'll be looking at S&P 500 this morning, US 30, and also NAS 100, right? Looking at how those markets are behaving current. It's been dicey, but then I believe we will be able to, look at the market. So we're expecting from Tuesday analysis, we're expecting the markets to react off the Fed rate, right? That's change of interest rate. But then what we had yesterday evening was quite stable. The markets in fact didn't react that much because they kept it at the same rate. That's 4.5, right? So the markets really, what we're expecting was that we see two possibilities. They either lower their rate and then we see that um, jump, that bullish movement across board for US 30, NAS 100, or the rate remains the same and then everything continues like the way it has always been without any, dramatic movement. And that's what we got yesterday, right? No much drama in the market. So let's start with US 30. On US 30, we can see clearly that we are very much, it's a clear cut box pattern, but then start with daily time frame, right? Start with daily time frame. We mentioned clearly that we are structure is beginning to change to the upside to a bullish, market structure, and recovering from all of the sell-off that we had in February and March, even April, right? The market sold off heavily, and that was beginning of the tariff war that started with US and China, other countries of the world, but particularly US and China, right? But then the market is now beginning to, correct itself. So by the time you look at those markets, from a market structure perspective, we look at market structure, then we look at other sentiment that supports, the buy for today, right? Market structure perspective, market has given us this lower low, which has not been broken. Instead, what is happening? Market is beginning to create higher lows that it has not violated yet, right? So we have these two level very strong. Until price, breaks this level, or we see clearly that price has broken this level before we say, okay, um, the sales still continue, right? Structurally on the daily time frame, we are still very much, bearish, but then you can see that that is beginning to change. That is beginning to change. On Tuesday, I marked out this level, and I said that uh, interestingly, the price can do two things here. Can act, use this place and act as support, resistance storm support, right? And that is what we are seeing currently in this market. The next level that is quite significant is this level here, right? This level here. And let's take a moment and go to the weekly time frame. On the weekly time frame, we see something interesting. This US 30. Okay. The analysis was on US 100. I'll show us by the time we get to that place. Something very unique on US 100. But then for US 30, look at something. We had like this other block that was here, right? And then engulfing again, price engulfed this. Then the next candle came very strongly bullish to the upside. Usually what happens next is that you see a week that is going to retest this level, and then price begin to push to the upside, right? But the major concern I'm also having now is this other block, which is not much of a concern again, because after we have this uh, bearish or bullish other block, what happened? Price actually tested it and then sold off to the downside. So once price is coming back to this level, I believe it shouldn't hold significant. You should just see a minor reaction and then price continue that bullish movement to the upside. That being said, on the daily time frame, let's go to the on the weekly time frame. Let's come back to the daily time frame, right? Another thing that will draw markets to this point is this inefficiency, which I believe price already feel okay, not yet, but then price is going to feel this inefficiency. So today is like a buy day for US 30, right? Particularly for me, I'm looking at buys, right? Because the market is a bit clear on direction, except something dramatic happen in the next 1 hour, a tweet or something from other countries, other nations of the world that trigger the market to start selling off. But I want to consider today like a buy day, right? And let's go to the 4 hour time frame. What do we have on the 4 hour time frame? In the 4 hour time frame, we have this other block sitting pretty well, right? Which most likely, and this other block, I want to believe it's going to be violated, right? I want to believe it's going to be violated. But then if it does not, it's a good set. Okay, this is what I'll be doing, right? This is a very good place to watch out for box strategy for yourself. Now, it's a two-way street, right? And so for this kind of setup, watch out for a box strategy for yourself. Its price can come actually to this place and then react up a bit before continuation. What do I mean? You can see something like this. Price come here, do 1:2, and then continue. You have something like box strategy failure, right? Or price even coming down here. Price react off this zone because it's an other block that has not been tested before, right? Another block that has not been tested before. Inefficiency just below it, right? Meaning that it's a very good point. So price might actually come to this point and then start in a way start reacting off this point, and then finally, what do we see? We see that it sells off. However, that sell might not be strong enough to really hold structure. We now see a reversal to the upside again. So that's a very big one that we should look at for today. And of course, there's that possibility also again of price violating it, right? Let me draw on that case scenario. We can have another thing like this: price violently, violates the other block. Once you see something like this, just wait for reaction or retest on the other block, and then most likely price will continue, right? Once we see an order block like this being violated, especially in the higher time frame, that's 4 hours, you see a violation, price is going to come back, retest, and then start pushing to the upside again. That being said, let's go to the 1 hour time frame and see if there's anything unique there that we've not captured. Nothing unique. This box strategy setup is actually very, very valid. I wish it was when we're still looking for sales in this market. We'll have taken this, but then we can actually scout for this, and a quick scalp can be 1:2 on this sell, right? Provided you are willing to take that risk, 1:2, and then most likely price should even give you 1:2 or even 1:3, right? But then if you don't want to counter trade the market, just wait and allow price give you that reaction. If you see that violent push to the upside around this zone, there's no point. Just wait for a retest. Most likely, price will just start buying immediately from that retest again. It's something that is unique and peculiar to US 30, that's 100, and also S&P 500. Doesn't happen everywhere, but then on this particular pair, we tend to see it over and over again. All right, that being said, let's look at for probably setup on 15 minutes if their box strategies setup. Okay, we have like a good one here, right? But then this is very interesting. There was a sweep here, break to the upside, price came, retested this, and then start pushing to the upside, right? The next one can be this, right? In terms of following the structure. So a sweep here, we've seen that break to the upside. Yeah, price has broken to the upside. Then we can wait for price to retest here and then continue the movement to the upside, right? So my concern now will be that we need to see this before price gets to this other block. Or because if for any reason price gets to this other block and then starts selling, might violate this, eventually still buy the upside, because I mean the sell-off is just temporary. But then I want to see this happen before we see price movements in that area of other block, right? Before we see price movements here. I want to see it come back a bit and then start buying up on that. So that will give me more confidence in this market, right? And with that, we can consider it's a very strong. We can even hold our position until when price gets to this point, and then probably break even or secure some profit and allow the rest to run. Bearing in mind that we'll see that minus reaction from this zone for price to continue to push to the upside. All right, that being said, let's move to the next setup, which is the US 100. Right, on the daily time frame also, as you can see on the US 100, that the Nasdaq, you can see Nasdaq is very, very much what bullish this morning. Major structure still remain bearish here, because by the time you use Fibonacci to measure the swing, right? Let's use this Fibonacci to measure this first swing here. This is the first swing. See, price has almost violated the 100%, but then not saying that yet. Not saying that yet, right? You have another swing from this place to this place, right? But if we are using the recent swing, we see that structure is beginning to change, and we can begin to, align our, bias to ensure that we are in tune with structure. So that being said, we have this level, this first one here, and then the second one here, which I'm expecting that if provided price did not break them, you see that push to the upside, right? Then we have this here. Okay, yes, we have this here. So what I was saying about US 30, I have two areas on US 100, sorry, not US 30, two areas on US 100 because of this inefficiency too, right? We know price does not allow for any inefficiency in the market. So my concern that although we're expecting like a resistance turns support here, price breaking above and then here turns to support. This is an another inefficiency. But then we go to probably lower time frame, we'll notice that it has been covered. From the daily time frame, it doesn't look as if it has been covered yet, right? So we have this going on. Also on the weekly time frame, something very, very important, beautiful, something very, very important. See, okay, this is one thing. We had other block here, which has also been tested, right? And then we have these that finally pushed against this other block. Let's say it violates the other block. Look at what price did. Price came back and then we tested the breaker. We call this a breaker block, right? So price violated it, this bullish, candle on the weekly time frame. And then look at the next candle that came back, we tested it, and then we expect this guy to have a safe journey to the upside without any drama, at least up until this zone here. We shouldn't see any sort of drama. So that's one of the things that's giving me the confidence for a buy on US equity, that's US 30 and also NAS 100, US 100. Coming back to daily time frame, market levels out and then prices, reacting off those levels. Let's look at the 4-hour time frame and see if there's something really significant that we can take note of. We also had this level marked out that was on Tuesday. We're saying that if for any reason we didn't want to take any buy, then because of the FOMC news release we're waiting for, right? But then we mentioned that if for any reason price comes back to this point here, to this breaker block here, we should see a week off, at least giving us money to play, right, in this market. Unfortunately, the price didn't come back to that zone, right? Instead of using the breaker block for the bullish movement, it's used 50% of the fair value gap. 50% of this fair value gap. That's what price used, and then we saw that push to the upside, right? So that being said, let's look on the 1-hour time frame. If there's something really significant we can watch out for, there's a similitude of box pattern here, but the question is, will price want to come back to this zone again? Seeing what has happened so far, because this is like a box pattern, a sweep, a break to the upside, and then price coming back to this zone for us to start, pushing to the upside again. I really don't think that would happen anytime soon. But then we can't tell because this is the market and this is US 100. It moves very well. You can get 200 pips up and down, right? So it's not something strange. On the 15-minute time frame, let me check again. So we have a setup on US 100 this morning. We have one on US 30, but however, we don't have anyone on US 100. This looks like a box pattern actually, but then I will want to stick with the one I have on US 30, right? And leave this one on NASDAQ, right? So that being said, we'll look at it again by 2:30, I believe. By that time, we should have more candle formation and then can make more informed decision. All right, so the last one for today, which is the S&P 500. Also, as you can see, S&P 500, they all have similar price action, right? They are all having a similar price action. The next place I expect US 30 to clear is this zone, right? We have one just below here, but then I strongly believe we should see that push to the upside. Okay, one more thing before we continue our S&P 500. One of the confluence, sorry, one of the confluence I'm using to also gauge my bias in this market for a buy or sell is the fear index, which is the VIX index, right? VIX. This is not synthetic, this is not the real VIX, right? This is actually a tool to measure investor confidence in the market. Either they are fearful, or they are optimistic, in a way greedy, right? And they want to put money into the market. So this is beginning to sell off effectively, like sell off very well, and it's a good sign for us. It's a good sign for us. I'm trying to check something. It's a good sign for us. Look at what we mentioned. This is just so beautiful to behold, right? We said that the moment it starts selling off, gold will also start selling off, right? And we can see that gold has begun to sell off, although it's not a proper sell to the down. We've not seen a structural break to confirm that sell to the downside. But then you can see we've been seeing that sell off, that signal of sell off in the market, giving us like a double top, right? Once this thing forms a proper double top on daily time frame, best believe you're going to the downside. All right. That being said, the VIX index is quite bearish, which signifies that investors are also coming back to the market, right? They are coming back to the market to put their money back into the market, and that's will, in a way, boost this to go to the upside. So that's one of the reasons why I'm a bit confident. I'm confident about the buy that I want to take in this market. All right, let's continue with our S&P 500. On the 4-hour time frame of S&P 500, what do we have? Okay, market has just been structurally bullish to the upside. Market has been structurally bullish to the upside, and we're seeing that change of structure to the upside without any break, right? We've seen price printing higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, and without any break to the downside, which is quite indicative that we might see that push to the upside. All right. Unlike US 30, unlike US 30 that we've not seen, price hasn't come to this level yet. I'm seeing a question here. Doing well, sir. Please, if synthetic index become bearish with dollar weak or strong, it's not synthetic index too. Let me open it again. Volatility, no, this is VIX actually. P PBOE fear index. VIX in TBOE here, TBOE volatility index, right? It's different from what we have on VIX, like VIX 75 and all of those ones. Those are synthetic one. What will happen to the dollar? Usually it depends, but then usually when you see that VIX is heavily bullish, you see the dollar to be strong. And dollar will become what's it called? Weak, sorry, right? VIX is very bullish, means that investors are fearful. They are moving their assets to safe haven, right? And depending on the situation on ground, dollar used to be a safe haven asset. But then, if for any reason at that point, or let me use as scenario, case in point, what happened last month or last 2 months, dollar was not a safe haven asset. Dollar was acting as a risk asset, right? Because it actually was, right? The fight was between President Trump and China and the Chinese government, um, basically. So investors were moving their funds into a safe haven asset, and the number one safe haven asset as at that time was what? Gold, right? So by the time you see that fear index is very bullish, right? Very extremely bullish, best assured that dollar will be weak, right? Dollar, especially with the scenario that we have, dollar will be weak. If and also you see a sell-off across board on say US equities, right? US 30, 100, S&P 500, you see them having a recording a red day, right? Record declining and all of those stuff in the market. So that's just basically it. It is simple too. It's like the fear index. You see, when they are very, very bullish, investor are panicking, investor want to run to save even. I hope that helps. All right, let's come back to our S&P 500. S&P 500. Okay, I mentioned something on S&P 500 that this is the setup we are currently seeing on US 30 for a sell. It has happened on S&P 500, and see how S&P 500 reacted. We just saw a minor sell-off, and then it's becoming bullish now, right? So this is giving me in fact, today's trade will be more on US 30, right? Because this has happened on S&P 500 already, and we're able to see the same setup. Let me mark it. And then we just saw a minor reaction. For those that had me see that you can sell, probably do 1:2. With what I'm seeing on the chart now, please don't sell, right? Just observe, observe. Because from here, price didn't even do 1:2, right? We didn't see that retracement long enough for us to record 1:2. Probably 1:0.5, which is not a good rate to reward, right? So don't sell. We use this as a tool to forecast what can happen on also US 30. Look at one for US 30, it hasn't happened yet. So we can start looking for buying opportunity from this zone and then enter into this zone. When we get into this zone, we can watch out for our price react, and with that we can make a firm decision. All right. Thank you so much. It's a good place to ask a question. If you have any question, Mr. Kelly, Paula, De Mangot, Michael, Oyekachi, Olani Yafis, Oni Oluwaseyi Muyiwa, Porter FX, Tobi, Adegboyega, Do we have any question? Let me know in the chat box. Was it helpful? Was this analysis helpful in any way? And let me know in the chat box. While we're doing that, also please be reminded we meet again by 2 p.m. for the New York session this afternoon. Also, guys, we'll be coming to Abuja, right? The information will be more details on that. We passed across our social media and right. So be in the city of Abuja fully. Posted some information about that, but then more details coming up very, very soon. Right, Abuja is the first city for this year, TBC Abuja, and fully expand to others. But for now, it's Abuja. Right. Thank you so much for joining. We meet again by 2 p.m. for our, New York Market Scholar session. So in case anything has changed, and we'll look at that together. All right. Until next time, I wish you profitable trading. Cheers and God bless everyone.